And it is Friday night. You know what that means. It is time for Smack Talk here on the SK Wrestling YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. Rick Ucchino here with you as always. SP3 by my side once again. And we are ready to talk about tonight's episode of SmackDown, which, you know, Sid, as we were talking about off the air before we came on the air, we think there's a lot of fun things that are going to come out of tonight's episode. So eventually we'll see some really cool things. Tonight's episode, I don't know. It just felt like a bad appetizer, you know, like the good meal is coming, but it feels like we made a mistake with the fried pickles. You know what I'm saying?
I think it's just something that has become a theme with WWE between the Royal Rumble and WrestleMania. Like last week, it felt like we were on the road to WrestleMania, and then it reverted back to we're on the road to Fastlane. That's what tonight felt like, that they were changing course. And now we're focused on Fastlane and not WrestleMania.
Yeah, and that's part of the problem, right? And that's why I love the Royal Rumble. I love that the winners get that title shot at WrestleMania. But man, there's so much time to fill in between then. Like I go back to Becky Lynch, right? When she won the Royal Rumble, she came out the next night. There was none of this Bianca Belair waiting. She came out the next night and says, Rhonda, it's me, it's you, it's on, let's go. And then over the next 3 months, they took the most convoluted way of getting to that match that we never even got because they shoehorned Charlotte in there. I mean, Becky had the match, lost the match, had to earn her way back into the match, and then it was still a triple threat, but screw it. She ended up winning in the end in the main event at 1 o'clock in the morning in New York City. That was just a whole big ordeal, but it's part of the problem, which is why I think it wouldn't be such a bad idea to maybe jumble up the timeline at the beginning of the year with some of these pay-per-views, maybe bump the Royal Rumble back to February or maybe even March and just go, boom, big event. It might cut down on some of this stuff that we typically do because they call it the road to WrestleMania, but man, it's more like a dirt path up a mountain bike trail to get to WrestleMania.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a fan of the Elimination Chamber coming between Royal Rumble and WrestleMania. I feel like that's like a last obstacle for people to find a way into WrestleMania. But the addition of Fastlane along with Elimination Chamber between the Royal Rumble, it really makes it feel even longer than it already is between those.
Sid, you with us there? I think Sid dropped out. Sid, try to come back in here, man. We'll get there. I think trying to get to what Sid was talking about there, though. You have they did kind of shoehorn Fastlane right into things. So it went right after the Royal Rumble. You had 3 weeks, and then boom, here is Elimination Chamber. There was really not a whole lot of build to it, and then even like on Raw, like they just put those guys in there immediately. Like they just said, hey, here's the Elimination Chamber, here's what we have on Raw, because there was no time to build to it. So maybe, just maybe, as I'll bring Sid back in here, maybe just maybe if they eliminate Fastlane, move Elimination Chamber back a few weeks, that would help space things out a little bit, and we wouldn't get, like we got with that Raw Elimination Chamber match where they're just like, oh, hey, here are the 6 opponents. You could actually take time and build things correctly.
Yeah, I think the Elimination Chamber is the perfect interlude. Fastlane, it just stretches it out even further, and it just wastes time on both shows, it seems.
Don't forget to get your comments in, guys. We will get to as many of them as possible. Ozzy says Asuka and Charlotte Flair now. I'm assuming at WrestleMania is what he means. Definitely a possibility. All depends on when they bring Rhea Ripley in. Rob Ross says the ending tonight was terrible. Look, I have to agree. And Paul, same thing. Waste of a main event tonight. Rob also saying, I thought at least Edge was going to come out and help Daniel Bryan. I'm not surprised that Edge didn't come out and help Daniel Bryan, mostly because of the exchange that they had back there where Daniel Bryan's all like, he can't beat Roman Reigns, but I can beat Roman Reigns, and then I'll beat you. So maybe Edge just like, you know what, screw you. All right, so I can kind of get that. I feel like Edge would pull that off. He's not so much worried about being the good guy all the time. He's worried about playing his own game. So I can kind of understand where Edge didn't come through, but this seemed like a foregone conclusion that Daniel Bryan was going to win this matchup tonight and then get that title shot at Fastlane, and it made sense for him to get that title shot at Fastlane just with how Elimination Chamber went down on Sunday, with Roman Reigns basically screwing him out of his opportunity. So I don't understand the double count out, but I kind of do, because it leaves us guessing, because this opens up so many options. Do we eventually get that Daniel Bryan, Roman Reigns matchup at Fastlane, and they're just going to kill some time before we get there? Are we going to get that tag match that Adam Pearce alluded to, or are we going to get something completely different? There's a lot of options on the table here. We got three more weeks or so until Fastlane. So there's a lot of options on the table. So I can understand why they do it, but I'll tell you why I hated the double count out is because I think there was a mistake. There was some kind of miscommunication between the two, because it definitely looked like both men had a lot of time to dive into the ring tonight.
Yeah, and you kind of caught it at the end there. They were like kind of talking to each other on the outside. Like something felt a little bit off on that finishing sequence. And yeah, it just seemed a little bit off. And up until then, they were having a very good main event. Like I thought it was the match of the night, even with the shoddy finish. But yeah, I mean, I wasn't convinced going into this match that we were getting Daniel Bryan versus Roman Reigns because of the tease with Paul Heyman earlier in the night. It made me believe, like, okay, yeah, after that opening segment, I thought they were going with Bryan and Roman at Fastlane. But after that segment, I was like, are we going to do the tag team match? And then the later segment with Daniel Bryan and Edge kind of further made me speculate if we weren't going to get that. And as we saw in the end, didn't get the logical ending that we thought we were going to get, which I do like, because I like keeping it guessing on the way to WrestleMania.
Here, look, the tag match is intriguing, right? And for those that might have missed it, Adam Pearce brought up the fact, or Edge brought up the fact that there was this match that was proposed to him where it would be it was Edge and Daniel Bryan versus Roman Reigns and Jey Uso. Yeah. Any day of the week, sign me up. I'm cool. Edge and Daniel Bryan in the same ring at the same time, whether it's as opponents or whether it's as a tag team, fine, great. But here's the thing. I don't need to see that match 4 weeks before WrestleMania. Don't give me even just a little bit of your main event, your guaranteed night 2 main event. I don't want to see it 4 weeks before WrestleMania. I'm not saying these two aren't going to, cross blows between now and then. We've already seen, exchange of spears here and there. I don't need to see them in a contest competing in the ring prior to WrestleMania. Just leave that carrot out on the string, man. Keep me chasing it. I don't need to see Edge versus Roman Reigns in any way, shape, or form beforehand. I thought maybe Kevin Owens might get involved in the main event, and we didn't see KO at all tonight. He would have made logical sense because it was Jey Uso who knocked him out of Elimination Chamber. No follow-up to that whatsoever, but maybe they're just selling it because dude did get his arm crushed in the door of the chamber, so that does make a little bit of sense there. So maybe that ends up being the match. We don't see Edge at all at Fastlane, which I wouldn't be mad about, but Daniel Bryan, Kevin Owens against Roman Reigns and Jey Uso, and maybe that finally ties off everything. I mean, I know we'd be seeing KO and Roman Reigns, but I don't know, it kind of makes sense to just tie up all the loose ends heading into WrestleMania.
Yeah, I mean, that main event definitely makes sense. Someone like Jimmy Uso coming back and getting like an Usos versus Daniel Bryan and Edge might work, or even having Edge and Christian reunion on Fastlane. I thought that was the genuine direction. I thought that we were probably going to get Edge and Christian reuniting because, I think it was 2 years ago we saw the reunion of the Shield before Dean Ambrose quit WWE at Fastlane. They needed a hook for Fastlane. And I think, the WWE title picture is very intriguing over on the Raw side. So that is a hook for Fastlane, but they needed something on the SmackDown side. I don't necessarily like we need the WWE Reverse Champion. That was the other reason why I wasn't too sure that Daniel Bryan was going to win the main event. But I feel the tag team match is a good decision, but I do agree with you. It does take a little bit of the luster away from a first time ever match that would be Edge versus Roman. And like I said, Jimmy Uso kind of replacing Roman, whoever the opponent is, I think works better as the prelude to WrestleMania.
And here's the other thing, and it all depends on, the status of Jimmy Uso. I think there was a video that came out this week of him kind of running on a football field or running a Tropicana field, wherever he was. So he's getting there. Don't know if he's going to be cleared in time for Fastlane or even WrestleMania. It definitely doesn't look like we're going to get that Street Profits Usos matchup that I was hoping for last fall. One day. It'll happen one day. It's probably not going to happen at this year's WrestleMania. But if you can get Jay and Jimmy back, that opens up a lot of options, because if Daniel Bryan does all of a sudden get that Universal Championship matchup against Roman Reigns, well, then that opens up Edge and possibly KO versus the Usos, or crazy idea, Edge and Christian versus the Usos.
I want that. That's a dream match. That's a money match, man. I'm like the biggest Edge and Christian fan. I was a sixth grader in elementary school when Edge and Christian was on top. All my friends were Hardy Boys fans. All my friends were Dudley Boys fans. I was in the back of the class selling for all of those with the benefit of flash photography, looking pose while the teacher goes to the bathroom. I was that guy. I'm an Edge and Christian mark, so I'd be all for the reunion at Fastlane.
And see, that's still like randomly, just at least once a week. Like, now that Edge and Christian are both back, at least once a week, usually on Wednesdays, I will randomly just think, damn it, why is Matt Hardy in AEW? Because that's the only thing that is stopping us from getting one more Hardy's Edge and Christian matchup. That is the only thing, was him leaving to go to AEW. And I understand why he did it. Like, no one thought Christian was going to come back at any point in time. But now, man, it's just one of those things where I go, can we work out a trade for like one night? Can we just can AEW find a way to work together for one night? Well, you could send Jeff Hardy over there, like make it an exchange. Like, you can have the Hardys on AEW one night and then just let Matt and Jeff do their thing, and face Edge and Christian on, a pay-per-view or something like that. There could be like a one-time trade, right? I'm sure these two companies can work together and give us that.
Do it for the fans, man. Both companies says they do things for the fans. Do it for me and Rick. We want Matt to have a one-time pardon to go back to WWE and perform against Edge and Christian.
A hall pass. That's what it is. It's a hall pass. Just give Matt Hardy a hall pass to come back and team with Jeff on a major pay-per-view. I don't care if it's SummerSlam or what have you, against Edge and Christian. And then, Jeff hasn't won a match outside of beating Elias since September, so just give Jeff to AEW. You can have Jeff permanently because he ain't doing anything. Just take his salary. We'll just treat this like the NFL. We'll work out trades or Major League Baseball, what have you. Come on, man. We can find a way to work together and figure this out where it's best for everybody and the fans win in the end, because isn't that the most important thing?
Putting smiles on fans' faces. That's the WWE's motto. You need to do it for me and Rick.
How many Yeah, Jose, thank you. Well, let's make this hashtag go viral here. Give Matt Hardy a hall pass. I love it. But yeah, man, there's a lot of options. There's a lot of options that are on the table now for Fastlane. So they didn't go with the obvious route. I still think some way, shape, or form we end up with Daniel Bryan and Roman Reigns at Fastlane for the Universal Championship. The other thing that I will absolutely guarantee, we're getting Daniel Bryan versus Edge at some point. I think that was driven home tonight. Mark it down, guaranteed. That matchup is happening. It's not a question of if anymore. It is a question of when. When does it logically make sense? Obviously, it's going to be post-WrestleMania. It's not like they're going to completely change things up and go Daniel Bryan and Edge at Fastlane. I don't think that's going to end up being the case. Or maybe it is. They could surprise me there. But it's going to happen because Edge is not going to sit here and go, hey, who do you think wins some hypothetical matchup between me and you? They're not putting that on television unless that match is actually going to happen on television.
we've heard it many a time. Vince McMahon does not like promoting matches that are never going to happen. So this is the second week in a row they teased Edge versus Daniel Bryan. We know their history with their, career-ending injuries. Yep. It has a self-made story. It's two guys that have never faced each other. This is a dream match for a lot of fans. I know me personally, I'm a huge Daniel Bryan fan, a huge Edge fan. I want to see them lock horns, and everything that they've done in the last 2 weeks has made me anticipate it even further, especially tonight in their interaction with that hypothetical question to Daniel Bryan.
Make sure to get your comments in, guys. We're going to be here until 11 o'clock tonight, breaking down the rest of what happened on the show. Also, make sure to engage with us as well. Give us the old thumbs up there, the heart. Hey, if I make you laugh, I'm a funny guy. Give us the old ha-ha. The more engagements we get, it really helps grow our audience. Tony saying Edge is going to win the belt at WrestleMania. Now, Sean Rossap of Fightful.com did release the odds earlier today of what they are currently, and they are even. They are flat even between Edge and Roman Reigns. So, I mean, it's kind of a toss-up right now. Man, I don't know. I don't see Edge winning the belt. I just don't. I just don't, man. I don't see them taking the title off of Roman Reigns.
If this was any other company, yeah, I feel like Roman Reigns is too hot as a character, too hot as a performer right now to take the Universal Championship off of him. However, this is the WWE, ladies and gentlemen, and I've said it once, I will say it again, I will say it on everything I do. Vince McMahon has a panic button control panel, and his favorite button on that control panel is nostalgia. And the final farewell tour for these legends. And I think that he might just hit that nostalgia button and give Edge one last run with the Universal Championship. I was under the belief that Big E was the guy to verse Roman Reigns 3-4 months ago. And I said that, Roman Reigns is hot as a character, and we do have to eventually build to a Universal Championship match between Roman Reigns and The Rock at one of these WrestleManias down the line. But I could see him losing it for a brief amount of time and then getting it back. I can see the same thing with Edge. I think that they can give Edge a nice little run. He's already got ready-made matches with the likes of Daniel Bryan. Of course, he's never been in the ring with Seth Rollins before, who's a big-time heel on the SmackDown side, and you got to think that they're going to be heating him up for a big match down the road. Edge could be that guy. He teased a whole bunch of matches with the guys in the Elimination Chamber last week. So there is a bunch of big-time money matchups that can happen on TV and pay-per-view with Edge as the Universal Champion. It doesn't have to be a long-term solution. I think that long-term, yes, the title is going to go back to Roman Reigns. But for the short term, I can 100% see WWE pulling the trigger on an Edge final title run.
Paul says it's going to be a triple threat match at WrestleMania. Maybe they add Daniel Bryan in there. I don't think they do that again. I think Edge and Roman Reigns by itself, one-on-one is the match to go. Now, if they did make it a triple threat, if they decided to go that direction, then everything changes because Roman Reigns doesn't have to eat a pin to lose that championship. They are going to protect Roman Reigns as much as possible. I think for the foreseeable future. Me, if I'm booking it, I think there's one, and I get it. I know I'm a homer for the guy, so take this with a grain of salt. The long-term booking here is for Roman Reigns to carry that belt all the way through to SummerSlam and then drop it back to Bray Wyatt. That is the long-term booking solution here because that championship was stolen from Bray Wyatt by Roman Reigns. And then he was drafted to Raw. That was it. There was no exchange. And Bray Wyatt, his whole character is, okay, I hold grudges, right? He holds grudges. We have seen this, and he has a list. He has a list that he is going down of people that have wronged him in the past, and he eliminates them one by one. Right now, Randy Orton is the number one target on that list. He's still stalking him, even though he doesn't have a physical presence anymore. But as soon as he is reborn and he has taken care of Randy Orton, which I think will happen at WrestleMania, and he will avenge the worst loss in his career, WrestleMania 33, when he should have beaten Bray Wyatt, should have beat Randy Orton to retain the WWE Championship. He'll beat Orton this year, and then that kind of opens things up. He'll swing back, circle back around to Roman Reigns. That's what I think makes the most sense. And you need somebody who's big, powerful, and strong to beat Roman Reigns clean, right? How about a guy who literally survived an electrocution to win the Universal Championship? I think that makes a whole lot of sense. I don't think that's going to happen. I think they're slow building Big E, and I do think Big E will eventually be the guy who takes it off of him. That's not the direction that I would go, but I wouldn't be mad either way. They have plenty of options on SmackDown. Seth Rollins is an option. I think if you build Cesaro correctly, he is definitely an option. And I think that would be a tremendous match for SummerSlam. Is Cesaro finally getting his moment and beating Roman Reigns to win the Universal Championship? I think that would be huge. They have a ton of talent on SmackDown. There are plenty of options. I just don't see Edge being the guy. I just don't. I could be wrong. I've been wrong before. We'll see what happens. We got plenty of time between now and WrestleMania. I'm sure my mind will change 18 million times. Cam says that Edge will win the belt back to complete his comeback, but probably lose it to Roman shortly after. It does make sense for Edge to win the championship because of the promo that he said, to come back and win the belt that he never lost, which he never won the Universal Championship, but this is basically the version of the World Heavyweight title now.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and he would once again be the face of SmackDown, which really was his brand, especially towards his rated R Ultimate Opportunist days. He was the face of SmackDown. I would put him on the Mount Rushmore of SmackDown superstars, so he'll be back on top of the brand that is his. So it makes a lot of sense. Like I said, I necessarily don't want that. I love the Roman Reigns tribal chief, head of the table character. I think it's the best thing going in WWE today. So I say keep the Universal Championship on him. And I do agree with you. Big E long term is the solution, because I think that he would get a lot more out of a win over Roman, especially this Roman character, beating him for the Universal Championship. Even if it was a transitional run that went back to Roman, I think beating him for the title would mean a lot more if it's Big E. Edge winning it won't mean as much, but like I said, this is something that WWE has done for years upon years upon years. We just saw it with Goldberg last year. We just saw it with Goldberg three years ago.
Hold on.
They love the nostalgia run.
I'm out. I know you're new to the show. There's one rule. We don't bring up that Goldberg Fiend matchup around me. All right. That is the one rule on this show. That match never happened. It does not exist. It is not canon. We just forget that matchup. It never happened. Just it's like Endgame. Like we all just blinked and magically we were in different spots in time. Okay, that's what it is. That we were all blipped back into existence after that Saudi Arabia show, and for some reason we woke up right after WrestleMania and Braun Strowman had the Universal Championship. That is how I choose to relive that. Okay, because that never happened. Make sure to get your comments in, guys. Somebody mentioned it earlier. I'm trying to find it. I'm sitting here digging it. I wish there was a way to flag the comments. If you were the one who put it in there, please send it back out so I can see it. But did not like the Mysterios jobbing out to, and that was their words, not mine, to Alpha Academy again this week. I'll tell you what, I was a little unsure last week, but I kind of like heel Otis. I like the aggressiveness that we saw out of the big guy tonight. And more importantly, Alpha Academy, they get a win. They hadn't won a match in over a month, that they lost their last 3 tag team matches. You're trying to build a tag team division here. Dominic Mysterio still a little bit green. So, I mean, you got time. I mean, Ray can always jump in at any time and be a credible opponent to anybody. He's just reached that status in his career. They're still bringing Dominic along a little bit, but I kind of like heel Otis. I kind of like heel Alpha Academy here a little bit.
This is the most intimidating that Otis has felt in his entire main roster run. I really liked his presentation tonight. He looked intimidating. He looked like an actual presence, like a monster heel. He showed that potential for the first time tonight, especially towards the end. I got a little bit of shades of a big Van Vader. And that's not something that I would have said about Otis, even though he's been using the Vader bomb for months. That's not something I would have said about Otis 2 or 3 weeks ago. But this actually felt effective, and it actually gives some type of payoff for the whole story that's been going on with the Alpha Academy. I mean, Otis being in a tag team necessarily doesn't make the whole decision to break up Heavy Machinery look that bright, because he's pretty much right back in the position that he was. But it's a different coat of paint on, you know, the same guy that he was almost just 6 months ago. So he needed some type of refreshment, especially after losing Money in the Bank, and this feels the freshest that Otis has felt in a while.
Well, Otis always wants refreshments. All right, we know that. We've oh, I cracked myself up. But yeah, no, I agree. I agree with you. Like I wasn't on board with these guys being a tag team at first because of that. I didn't want them to pull Otis away from Tucker, because there was nothing wrong with Heavy Machinery. You really didn't do anything with them outside of these comedy spots, right? So I didn't want them to be a tag team at first. I like the idea of Gable being his coach. But now that they are a tag team and it looks like they have a plan for him, it looks like they're doing something with them of substance, because you do have a tag team division that you have to build up, because without the Usos, the longest established tag team you have are the Street Profits. Great. Nothing wrong with the Street Profits whatsoever. But then it's like, well, who else you got? And now they're trying to build some tag teams up in the division. They're trying to, at least they're tagging with the Mysterios. I think that's a team that could have a lot of credibility that could get pushed very soon. Rude and Ziggler, they've been around for a while now as a tag team. So I think they're more transitional champions than anything. I think eventually those belts are going to be back on the Street Profits sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
It's just a light tag team division. So yeah, you give a few wins to the Alpha Academy and maybe have them set up and be the next challengers after the Profits get the belts back.
Yeah, it only makes sense for, you know, to set up a new challenger, because it seemed like with the victory tonight for the Street Profits that they're on their way back to the tag team title scene, and possibly we might even see that at Fastlane. So, you know, WrestleMania is around the corner. You got to have these teams heated up, but it seems like on the SmackDown side, even with Alpha Academy kind of having this new characters, being heels, getting the win here, it feels like we are on our way to a multi-team type of matchup at WrestleMania for the SmackDown tag team titles, because they're heating up the Street Profits. Dirty Dogs, even if they lose the titles before WrestleMania, you kind of know they're going to be in that matchup. You got the Mysterios still hanging around, so I could see them in a type of situation where they have like a four corners tag team matchup for the SmackDown tag team titles. And honestly, that's probably double the amount of tag teams that I can think of off the top of my head on the Raw side. So at least SmackDown's got that going for them.
All right, well, we know two for sure because they have wrestled for the last like 4 weeks, it seems, with Cedric and Shelton, Cedric and Shelton, and then you got Lucha House Party. Retribution, technically that's two tag teams. I mean, because you could do Ali and Mace, or Ali and Slapjack, and then Mace and T-Bar.
And then New Day.
And then the New Day, obviously, yes. Yeah, so they got a little bit of some action going on there, sure. What about the Hardy Bros? I mean, are they still a thing? I don't know. Makeshift teams. Yeah, they just throw them together, throw stuff against the wall, and see what sticks.
We forgot the best tag team on Monday Night Raw: Damian Priest and our 24/7 champion, the 2020 Spotify Artist of the Year, and the #1 draw in WWE right now, Bad Bunny.
And maybe potentially the #1 contender for the WWE Championship, depending on how things shake out on Monday. Boy, could you just see Vince go in that direction, just heading into Raw on Monday, like right before Bobby Lashley is about to win that championship, because I think he is going to win it on Monday. Like, seriously, that matchup should be almost as bad as Brock Lesnar and Kofi Kingston was. Like, that's how this matchup should be booked. There should be 3 minutes left in Raw, and this is my second Avengers analogy of the night here, but it literally should just be the Hulk and Loki at the end of Avengers, where he just grabs him by his feet, chucks him against the mat several times, puts him in the full Nelson, and it's over. Miz should get no offense on Monday. He won the championship. Good for him. This was a reward for all the hard work that he's put in. It's Bobby Lashley's time. This has to be where they're going with Raw. It has to be Lashley and McIntyre at WrestleMania. So, that's fine. And I know I went off on a tangent there, but I wanted to bring that up in some way, shape, or form, that's what needs to happen on Monday. That's what needs to happen. It needs to happen, Sid.
I got my fingers crossed for that to happen, and I'm hoping the fact that they're advertising Drew McIntyre ahead of time for Raw, it doesn't give me the I thought was the inevitable finish to this match of Drew McIntyre returning and claymoring Bobby Lashley that caused the disqualification. I hope that the fact that they advertise McIntyre means that McIntyre is going to be advertised, maybe get into a brawl with Bobby Lashley earlier in the night, and doesn't get involved in the championship match. I got my fingers crossed. Bobby Lashley, new WWE champion this Monday.
Do it after Lashley decimates Miz. All you got to do is have McIntyre come out and claymore him, and that's it. Fade to black. That's it. Yeah. That's all you literally have to do. Rob said, I heard Jason Jordan will be making a comeback. Could leave, a Gable reunion there. Actually, I think he debunked that. I think he talked to, God, I can't remember. He did an interview with somebody, but said that he was trying to get cleared for the Royal Rumble and didn't. So who knows? Never say never. It doesn't mean it's not going to happen. So, no, I'm sorry. I got him confused. With Tyson Kidd. That's wrong guy. So maybe, yes, that's definitely a possibility. Here's the thing, though. Don't split from Otis. Add to the Alpha Academy.
Yeah,
it's the Academy. It's not two people. Add to it. So, I mean, there are options, right? There are dudes out there. Sid, who would you add to the Alpha Academy?
I mean, Jason Jordan's a good shot. I mean, Otis's old partner, Tucker, he's not doing anything much. Add him to the group. I think you're right that they need to add to the Alpha Academy, and adding Jason Jordan would make it the American Alpha Academy.
Yeah.
So, and you already got the triple. You could call them the AAA. So it works on many different levels where you could play around with this type of stuff. But Tucker, Jason Jordan. There's a couple of guys on SmackDown and Raw that kind of need something going on for them. Drew Gulak is one that kind of makes sense because he was kind of along with that type of training somebody to get ready for stuff. He was connected to Danny O'Brien just last year. He would make sense in the group. So there's a bunch of guys that would work in the Alpha Academy if they're going to do something with it.
Gulag is a great shout. I think that is a slam dunk. The only problem is he's on Raw, but do we really know he's on Raw? Like, do we really? Like, occasionally we see him running after the 24/7. So pretty much anybody that you see running after the 24/7 title on Raw could be in the Alpha Academy, because it would be a million times better than what they're currently doing right now. Before we move on to one person who I think could have been in the Alpha Academy until what we saw out of him tonight, I do have an idea, by the way. We were talking about the SmackDown Tag Team division. All of a sudden, it hit me. I just had an epiphany. I think sooner rather than later, both Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn are going to find themselves in limbo, where they're coming off of these big runs that they've had. Sami in the IC title picture and Kevin Owens in the Universal title picture, and they're going to need something to do. I think it's time, man. It's got to be time, right? You're talking about a multi-team matchup at WrestleMania. Put these two together. Give us that long-awaited KO Sami tag title run and just do it. I think Kevin Owens would be the perfect person to talk to Sami and pull him out of this conspiracy theory rabbit hole that he has dug himself in. And that could be it. Like, KO could finally, like, Sami was trying to be friends with him at the Elimination Chamber, and KO wasn't having it because he was there for business that night. Yeah. Well, now all of a sudden he can go to his friend and be like, look, what the F are you doing? Stop it. I'm going to stun the camera crew. They're going away. And, you're going to come with me and we're going to figure out how to be successful again together. And then we can get happy, dancing babyface Sami Zayn again. And those two can be tag team champions all summer. I think now's the time. I think it now it absolutely has to be the time. When I talked to Sami Zayn last week, which, by the way, that interview is still up on the SK Wrestling YouTube channel. Make sure to check that one out. Also, the one I did with Samoa Joe, and also the one I did with Killer Cross. It has been Killer Cross, excuse me, Karrion Kross now. Karrion Kross. Sorry, WWE. Sorry. Karrion Kross. It's been a busy week. Check all those out as soon as we are done. He said, I asked him about it. Sammy said, look, it has to happen at some point, right? Why not now?
I why not now? This is one of my favorite tag teams of the past 15 years. I'm a Ring of Honor old school mark, so I saw them in the infancy of their career come together, and I just think that it would just make sense in the WWE, especially like you said, right now, them coming off some of the biggest stories of their career, just coming together and kind of reigniting the SmackDown tag team roster, because I think them as heels, honestly, would be the best option for them, because them and the Street Profits would be a whole bunch of fun. I think them and the Mysterios would tear it up. There is so many options. After WrestleMania, they could change up the roster. We could see New Day back on SmackDown. There's so many great tag teams that I would love to see versus Zayn and Owens. And the fact that WWE has had them under their payroll for almost 6 years, and all we got was maybe a 3 to 4 month run of them as a tag team, and they were heels when I preferred them, like I just said, I preferred them in the heel role, but they were much better baby faces than heels before they came to WWE as a tag team. So the fact that they were heels for the 3-4 months that they had a run in WWE, people don't know how great they are as a tag team. And don't get me started with the number of teams WWE have had under their payroll and not pulled the trigger on. I'm looking at you, Chris Hero and Cesaro. They were one of the best tag teams that they never put together. Don't do it with Zayn and Owens. Give us a real run with those two together, and it would be money.
If I had the Dave Bautista, meme ready to go, I'd flash it up there. Yes. For the second time today, please just give us what we want. Just give us what we want. Moving on now. Apollo Crews all of a sudden is interesting. That is the first time I think I have said that in 7 years. We learn more about this man in 5 minutes tonight than we did in 7 years. Did not even know that this man was Nigerian. To be completely honest with you, had no clue. Not a bit. You told me before we came on the air that that was part of his vignettes in NXT.
Yes.
I either forgot about it or just literally didn't know about it. Just it was not up here. Had no clue. And that's more on WWE than me, by the way. That's just, they haven't really let him do anything of any substance. Even when he was the United States champion, we really didn't get this kind of character depth. This is like the first bit of honest to good character depth that we've gotten out of Apollo Crews in his entire run in WWE.
Yeah, because I think this is the first time he's been a heel. I think that WWE just thinks that if you're a babyface, you can't have any layers to your character. You just have to smile, you have to love the fans, and you have to win matches. That's what makes a great babyface to WWE. It's very rare that we get a Drew McIntyre who is a actual babyface with actual depth, or an Edge for that matter. But it took years upon years for them to get to that point, and they had to go through heel runs. But this Nigerian, a descendant of Nigerian royalty, Apollo Crews, this felt great. This looked great. This was the best presentation of Apollo Crews since he's come to the WWE. Even better than his whole entire NXT run, because someone like you know a whole lot of wrestling, Rick. I admire your knowledge on wrestling. And the fact that you don't remember those vignettes just tells you that WWE has worked their hardest for the past 7 years to beat that out of your memory and to never make you remember that he actually had vignettes talking about his parents coming from Nigeria, bringing them over, wanting them to have a better life. That's when NXT actually cared about building up babyface characters. WWE altogether, not so much anymore, but I love this. I love the green and white, what it represents. I love him using the scarf to get the victory here, him using the angle slam to get the win. This was just great. Everything about Apollo Crews has worked perfectly the last 2 weeks.
Rob said, love to see Apollo keep the Nigerian accent as a heel. What did you think of that?
I loved it. He just brought it out of nowhere. It like literally mid promo. I just felt like I turned on Amazon Prime and I was watching Coming to America. It was great.
That's out next Friday, by the way. So maybe instead of SmackDown, we'll just review Coming to America too. I mean, it's called Coming to America, but so was the first one. Like, I hate when they do those sequels and it's just a different spelling of the word two. Like, you're not the first movie to do that. It's like, there's nothing wrong with saying Coming to America 2. Okay. It's not, anywho, that completely, I do this. You'll notice I do this. I wave my hands a lot and I just get completely off the rails on things when things bother me. But yeah, we can make sure to both watch Coming to America, and we'll also recap that next week. I mean, we have an hour, right? We can shoehorn that in for sure.
Why not?
Cam wants to know what happened to Buddy Murphy and Ray's daughter. Did they really get hitched? No. I do believe, and I'm trying to remember where I read this. It might have been Fightful.com that had the report on this one, where they said that Murphy was going to be brought in. Remember a couple weeks ago when Ray was dealing with King Corbin, right? And they said, hey, I got a guy who can help us out with this. And then we never saw the guy. Well, Buddy Murphy was the guy. They needed to even it up 3-on-3 because you had King Corbin and the Knights of the Lone Wolf. And then one of the Knights got released. And then everything just kind of fell apart from that point. And we haven't seen Murphy. Actually, we saw Murphy for all about 8 seconds. Because when Seth Rollins came back, he surrounded the ring and then he unceremoniously left. Pretty much like his whole entire 2020 didn't happen. Wouldn't that be nice to just say, hey, my 2020 didn't happen, guys. That's cool. Murphy deserves so much better than that, man. He's so damn good. Him and Aleister Black. Like the fact that those two guys can't get on TV and do anything of any substance whatsoever. I'll even take Murphy in the Alpha Academy. I'll take him. Yeah. Just put that man on television.
He deserves it. Like, he worked hard to pull himself up. Like, if you remember, Buddy Murphy was one of those guys before who we were like, he should be on TV. And then they put him on TV. He tore it up with Daniel Bryan, tore it up with Roman Reigns, and he got moved over to Monday Night Raw, had the great series of matches with Aleister Black. Then he gets paired up with Seth Rollins. He goes on that nice run with him. And it just seems that everyone that got involved in that Mysterio Seth Rollins rivalry has just been permanently damaged ever since then. Like, Seth Rollins had to take a paternity leave to get some refreshment from getting the stank off of himself from that feud. The Mysterios haven't been the same. Murphy's not on TV. Aaliyah has not been on TV, and she was a draw on YouTube views. So it seems like everyone has been hurt from that rivalry.
Also, no Bailey tonight, no Carmella tonight, no Billie Kay tonight. All three of those ladies getting the night off, which, not everybody can be on every show. I wish Liv Morgan had gotten the night off, because what did I say last week, man? Just can either Liv or Ruby win a damn match, and Liv loses to Tamina tonight? I don't even have anything to say. Like, at this point, I'm just okay. I get it. Yeah, it's an obvious mismatch. It's an obvious mismatch. Tamina is like twice her size. She's big. She's strong. But Liv is younger. She's faster. She's more agile. She's more athletic. She could have found a way to win that matchup. Billie Kay didn't even cost her this time. She just lost one-on-one to Tamina. Like, what are we doing? What are we doing with the Riot Squad right now? Like, I had somebody in one of my chats, one of our SK colleagues said something about, like, they need to add somebody to the SmackDown women's division to, because they needs a new injection of talent. And I'm like, no, They just need to actually push the talent they have. They have a great top tier. You got Bayley, you got Sasha, you got Bianca. That is a great top tier. I'll even throw Carmella in there, former women's champion. I'm hitting the microphone. You know I'm getting mad when I'm hitting the microphone. You know, they have a great top tier. Liv and Ruby are really good in the ring. Bayley has tried her best on social media and even a little bit on television to showcase that and say, hey, look, these guys are great. I want to wrestle you. I want to showcase these guys more. Just push them. And I promise you, you will not be disappointed. But Liv Morgan loses to Tamina tonight.
I was genuinely shocked because there was no Billie Kay involvement, and I tweeted out on Twitter. I was like, "Are we in the middle of another Tamina push?" I thought we only get this like in the after WrestleMania when you need a challenger for the month. Tamina starts getting wins. I didn't know you do this on the road to WrestleMania. Like this, are they actually going to do something with Tamina? Are they actually going to?
That's what I'm saying. What's the point? What are we doing? What are we pushing here? I mean, you got two teams lined up in front of anybody else for the women's tag team. And how does a singles division help the tag team of Tamina and Natalya? How does a singles win help them out? I don't know. I don't know what this match tonight just seemed like time filler.
Yeah.
It seemed like it had no merit. It was just like, hey, we got 8 minutes to fill. Go out there and yeah, Tamina, you're going over. That was it. Like I don't know what the end game here is. And again, it wasn't even the treading water with Billie Kay. Because Billie Kay, to this point, has been costing the Riot Squad all of their matches.
Yeah.
And now Liv Morgan loses to Tamina. Look, I didn't have a problem, by the way, when Tamina did challenge Bayley last year. Because Bayley, at that point, had run the gambit on pretty much the entire SmackDown Women's division. You had to come up with somebody new. So that made sense. And it worked. And they really made Tamina look good.
Yeah.
Don't need to put Tamina over the Riot Squad right now. You just really don't.
I mean, the result made me hopeful that this coming Wednesday we do get new women's tag team champions in Raquel Gonzalez and Dakota Kai. And since they just did their babyface turn, maybe this win will make more sense after that because Tamina and Natalya have some momentum. They've beaten the Riot Squad for a couple of weeks. They're heels. They can be likely first challengers for Dakota and Raquel. If that doesn't happen, then negate everything I just said, because it felt like filler tonight. It was not a very entertaining match. And the finish with Tamina going over Liv Morgan was very frustrating if you know the talents of Liv Morgan.
Well, and that's the thing is like, I didn't even think the match was bad. Like I thought the match was good. There were some really good spots in there. I thought Liv's bridge was incredibly impressive. Very Trish Stratus-esque right there. So there were some good spots. Every time Liv is in the ring, she impresses me. Every single time. It's like I don't get it, man. I just don't get why they're doing what they're doing. When it comes to the women's tag team match on Wednesday, if they shoehorn in Naomi and Lana's match this coming Monday, yes, I'm with you. Because I feel like they want to do that Naomi and Lana match with Nia and Shayna because of the whole Nia and Lana storyline, right? That's where it would make sense. So if they do that matchup on Monday, then sure. Yeah, exactly. And I do think Dakota and Raquel should win. Absolutely, I do. I think it's time for an honest to God, we've been dominating for a year tag team to take those belts, something fresh, something new. Take them up. Let's see Dakota and Raquel on Raw. Let's see them on Friday Night SmackDown against the damn Riot Squad, for crying out loud, or even Tamina and Natalya, whatever. But what I think honestly, what we're going to end up getting is the tag team titles are probably going to be on Naomi and Lana heading into WrestleMania, and we might get Naomi and Lana versus Natalya and Tamina.
Oh, Oh man, that just hurt my head.
This is where this is where I see things going. All right. I'm trying to read the tea leaves here. This is where I see things going. So I would rather, and that's not a knock on any of those ladies. I'm just saying that's the matchup. I see where they're going with this. We could end up with 4 or 5 different teams in the women. Give me a ladder match, a ladder match for the women's tag team titles featuring 4 or 5 teams, whatever. That would be great. That would be a lot of fun. Give me as many NXT tag teams as possible on at WrestleMania. Please, let me see it. We got 2 nights to fill here, Sid. We got 2 nights to fill. There's a lot of matches. I want to see NXT heavily involved in WrestleMania this year. Give me both NXT titles on the line and give me a lot of NXT tag teams in a multi-women match for those tag team titles at WrestleMania. That's the direction I would go.
I wouldn't be mad at that at all. Like, the women's tag team division has been struggling ever since Sasha and Bayley dropped those titles. And I think they were struggling prior to that. And that's why they kept the titles on Sasha and Bayley as long as they did. So I just think they need.
It wasn't Bayley and Bianca, or Bayley and Sasha losing the tag team titles that killed the division. It was WWE breaking up all their tag teams that killed the division, because it happened at the same time. It happened at the same damn time. Like, okay, I understand why, you lost the Kabuki Warriors because Kairi Sane decided to go back home. Not a problem. Fine. Okay, you lose one tag team. Then all of a sudden you found yourself in a circumstance where you had to break up Sasha and Bayley because that had to be your title match heading into one of your big pay-per-views. Okay, so there we go. That's another team gone. And then for whatever reason, I still don't know to this day, now all of a sudden neither one of them can get on TV. Give me the damn Iconics back. You split them up for no reason whatsoever, which I believe was the last time the Riot Squad went over anybody. So let's correct that mistake. Like, that's the thing, is like there were so many teams that just carried that women's tag team division for pretty much its entirety, and then all of a sudden, in a blink of an eye, they were all gone. That's what killed the women's tag team division, and it's just now starting to get some momentum built again.
Yeah, at least it feels like an active presence on all 3 brands again. But yeah, I just think that they just need new champions. I would love it to be the Riot Squad, but if it's Kai and Gonzalez, I would be just as happy.
Yeah, I would be good with that. One thing that we know for sure, and we'll go ahead and close out the show because I know so many people have been commenting on it tonight. We know what the SmackDown Women's Championship match is going to be. Let's be honest, from the moment Bianca Belair won the Royal Rumble, we knew this was going to be the matchup. This is the one that made the most sense. This is one that I think absolutely slam dunk has to either close night 1, hell, even night 2. It will be Bianca Belair versus Sasha Banks. Again, WWE in true fashion, they had to make this a little convoluted tonight because they had to have Reginald, who has ring music now, by the way. That's interesting. You had to have Reggie come down and do his hype for his smitten kitten, whatever the heck you want to call her, Sasha Banks, whatever this crush thing is, whether it's Carmella who's pulling his strings or whatever's going on here. He had to come down and hype up his girl. But what he said made absolutely no sense because he told Bianca that, hey, you choose Sasha, you're going to lose. You should fight Asuka. Completely forgetting the fact that Asuka kicked Sasha's ass for the better part of the summer last year. And now all of a sudden we're just like, oh, nah, you could beat Asuka easy. No problem whatsoever. But Sasha, no, you can't beat Sasha. Like, guys, stop it. This is twice now that you've done this with Reginald. You're making him look dumb. You're making him look incredibly, incredibly dumb. Does not matter, though. Sasha comes down, says, you don't speak for me, shoves him away, and says, look, you want to make history. You want this to be, you want to prove you're the best. Let's go. Bianca says, yes, it's these two at WrestleMania, and I can't be more excited for it.
Like this, I agree with you. This match needs to be the main event of one of the nights of WrestleMania because it's like, how can you make a woman's, follow up from the first ever women's main event of WrestleMania? You put 2 women of color in the main event of WrestleMania. So you're basically putting together the monumental moments that happen at WrestleMania 35. Why WrestleMania 35 will be remembered for years on out was because Kofi Kingston became the first African-born WWE champion, and we had the first ever women's main event. You put those both together with this matchup, two women of color fighting for the SmackDown Women's Championship in the main event of WrestleMania. It will be so inspirational. It will be such a great decision by the company, and it's one that they can legitimately promote their butts off and just be like, we are this company of liberation. We are a progressive company, two women of color in the main event of WrestleMania. This is something that has WWE written all over it, and it's just a smart decision to have Bianca, Sasha.
And man, like, Bianca has to win, right? Like, this is like, we all love Sasha, and she's actually finally getting a chance to hold the championship for more than like 8 days. She's actually successfully defended it a couple of times now. I wouldn't mind her seeing her defend it at Fastlane against somebody, literally anybody, because the only person that she's really beaten since Bayley has been Carmella. So I'd kind of like to see this run of hers have at least one more opponent that she could be beaten. Why not? You're feeding the Riot Squad to Tamina. Might as well just, feed them to Sasha while you're at it, and she can have at least a couple of title defenses there. But yeah, man, this has got to be Bianca's crowning moment. It's really hard to believe that she hasn't won a championship yet in the company. That's always been her thing. It's like she puts on these great matches, and she's been so close, but just can't get there. Reminds me a lot of Becky Lynch. Like, honestly, just so close, but never really got there. And Becky Lynch's crowning moment at WrestleMania actually came after she won a championship. But I mean, that first run, nobody really remembers it a whole lot. It wasn't exactly memorable. And I think even Becky Lynch has said, look, I was very apologetic when I had that title that first time because I didn't think I earned it. I didn't think I deserved it. Like, she just felt like, hey, sorry, I'm the face of SmackDown. I think those were her own words at the time. So she just didn't have the confidence there to really make that a memorable run. A few years later, she finally does get her crowning achievement at WrestleMania 35 and then has a tremendous run with the Raw Women's Championship. I think this should be Bianca's crowning moment. And I absolutely think it should be the main event, which means we're going to get 2 SmackDown main events this year, because there is no way that Roman Reigns and Edge is not closing one of those nights. And if it's Bianca and Sasha the other night, if that just doesn't fully encapsulate the status of Monday Night Raw right now. One, we don't even know what the matches are. Like, can anybody tell me what the Raw Women's Championship matchup is going to be, or the WWE title match is going to be with absolute certainty? Can anybody tell me that? Do we even think we will know 3 weeks out from WrestleMania? Because I don't. In all seriousness.
I'm not sure we're gonna know 2 weeks out from WrestleMania or a week out from WrestleMania. We're gonna be sure of that. But yeah, it is quite the indictment on the Raw roster that the 2 matches that people most see main eventing the 2-night WrestleMania are from SmackDown. It's an indictment on Raw that both Royal Rumble winners picked SmackDown champions. It just doesn't look good for Raw all around. And the fact that one of their top championship matches that they could have had at WrestleMania, they told us for like 2 or 3 money match. So it's just a booking.
Deshaun Rogers says no. Sasha, has to win this matchup. I honestly disagree, because I've been on this for a while that, if you go back and you look at SummerSlam, I think it was 20. Man, I'm trying to think now. I'm trying to get my years right. It was 2018. SummerSlam 2018. That was the night that Becky Lynch sucker punched Charlotte Flair, right? Like, after she won the SmackDown Women's Championship. I believe that was 2018. From that night on, that was Ronda Rousey. She won her first championship that night, and Charlotte won the SmackDown title off of Carmella. Since that night, 6 women have held the top 2 titles on Raw and SmackDown. Ronda Rousey's one run, Asuka, Charlotte, Becky, Bayley, Sasha. That's it. Since The summer of 2018, it has been the same 6 champions. It's time for somebody new. This women's division is too stacked. It's too talented. It's too deep for it to be the same 6 women on top. One of those women's not even in the company anymore. You could tell me all day that she's going to come back at some point, but until I see Ronda Rousey standing in a wrestling ring again, I'm not going to believe it. She's gone. All right. For whatever reason, even when she is champion, they don't want to do anything with Asuka. And you have one of the horsewomen who's gone right now. You got another one who's won 12 women's titles already. And I really don't want to see another championship on her, really, honestly, anytime soon. Bayley just had a long run. Sasha's getting her longest run. It's time. It's just time to eventually you got to hand the ball off to somebody else and see if they can gain some yards with it. And I think Bianca Belair is it. It should have been Rhea Ripley. Should have been Rhea Ripley. You should have just strapped the damn rocket to her back, last year and just let her go. And she could have won a championship by now, but you can't make the same mistake twice. It's got to be Bianca Belair this year.
I agree with you. I've said this about Bianca. I've been a fan of hers since I saw her against Kairi Sane in the Mae Young Classic in 2017. She is so talented. And this feud kind of writes itself because Bianca Belair's kind of character is, yes, she's the EST, but when you look at her run in NXT and her run up to now on the main roster, she's come up short in the big matches outside of the Royal Rumble. She's never won a championship match in her entire WWE career. On the other hand, Sasha's on the longest title run of her career, but at WrestleMania, she's 0-5. So this match, this match can go either way. Like both main events that we're talking about, Edge and Roman, I legitimately think could go either way, with Vince choosing to go nostalgia with Edge or going with the hot character in Roman. With Sasha and Bianca, it's the same thing. You could see him finally giving Sasha that win at WrestleMania, kind of solidifying her as this, for this run, kind of saying that she is one of the greats of the women's division, or they can, strap the rocket on the new horse in Bianca Belair. Either way, I think it's going to be great because both main events are unpredictable, and that's what I like at WrestleMania.
You just made me like incredibly conflicted because I have been on this this campaign to see somebody new, right? To see, not that I have any problem with the 6 women who have dominated the division over the last 2 years plus. It is not that I have any problem with them. Obviously, I got enough Becky Lynch gear back here to tell you I'm a big fan. All right. But I just want to see somebody else get a chance to run with the ball. And then you just reminded me that Sasha frickin' Banks is 0-5 at WrestleMania. So now I'm sitting here abdicating for her to go to 0-6, which is ridiculous. I don't know now, man. I guess either way I could be happy, right? I guess there's something I could look at it. Either Sasha finally breaks another streak, or this massive run that the 4 horsewomen and Asuka and Ronda have been on for the last few years finally comes to an end, and to somebody who's truly deserving of it as Bianca Belair. So I guess I can look at it as I'm going to be happy either way, but if I want to look at the glass half empty, I'm going to be ticked off either way. So, I'm so conflicted. Dang it. You find ways, man. You just find ways to poke the bear. That's just what you do. Is this how this is going to work with us? I mean, this is only show 2. Do you want to get to show 3? I don't know. I'm just kidding. We will get to show 3. Sid will be back. I think his screen froze again. We'll have to get him to upgrade the internet for sure. We appreciate everybody who has chimed in, everybody who has stuck with us so far. We really appreciate it. Make sure, again, to come back next week. Get your comments in. Get all of the engagements in. It really does help grow our audience. I'm sorry. I'm laughing at the fact that he is frozen. Yeah, I think he is gone. Nope, there he is. Sorry, you were frozen in the thumbs up position there for about 10 minutes. It seemed like it was hilarious. But Sid, appreciate it, man. We'll have to upgrade that internet connection for next week, and we'll be back to talk about
the thumbnail. I had the thumbnail polls.
Yeah. We'll be back next week. Also, by the way, again, since you're already on the SK Wrestling YouTube channel, I have 3 interviews from this week. I talked to Sami Zayn last on Thursday. I talked to Samoa Joe on Monday, and then I talked to Karrion Kross on Tuesday. They're all up there, all really, really good stuff, including Samoa Joe. If you missed it, giving an update on his in-ring career. So make sure to hop on there and check that one out. Sid and I will be back next week at 10 o'clock. Enjoy the weekend, and we'll talk to you at the end of the next work week. Everybody, take care.